Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The platform.
iOS, it's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan Waugh. We've got a brand new format for you on Fridays. What we're going to do is go back, collate, and play for you the very best bits of the week. However, as well as that and alongside it, yes, we are here and we are going to be discussing what is relevant today as we head into the weekend. All Blacks versus Argentina and the first squad of the year selected. So, as always, we start tablets in hand. I say gather my flock. It's time for a sermon. It's a selection one. Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
The first All Blacks team of the year has been announced. Look, I want to be all excited. I want to be all amped. But my initial feeling was one of being underwhelmed. I'm not wowed out. I'm not like, wow, here we go. Look at this. Here's the team that's going to win the World Cup right here, right now. Quake in your boots world. Here we come. I don't want to be a negative Nelly. But, my initial reaction was just as I said. Let's break it down. Our two locks for starters. Yes, we want to see Josh Lord play. Congratulations to him. But you take out Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock, and the next combination just doesn't scream, we are the best in the world. The two props on the bench, Offa and Nepo. Seriously? These guys have been there. They've been tried, and they haven't cut it. In 2019, shamed by England. 4 years later, are those two really that much better now as players? Are they really that much better as test rugby players? Do they dominate now like they didn't back then? Shannon Frizzell, he's back. The expectations on him are huge. He's got to own that position. Here's your chance, mate. And yes, I know we're missing key players through injury, but get used to that because that happens in rugby. In every World Cup year, we're going to be lamenting guys that simply aren't there, that aren't fit enough to play. Let's look at first five. I guess the selectors are saying that Ian Foster no longer wants Beauden Barrett as the backup first five. Because again, would he seriously consider Damian McKenzie to start in that position versus South Africa? The backline is what it is. Without Lester Whanganuku, without Reece, without Jordan, without Leonard Brown, we have to select who is available. Look, overall, the team to me, it seems like the selectors are holding something back. Do you get that feeling too? I.e., look, we'll get to see the real first 15 start next weekend versus South Africa. Brace yourself, folks. I've been saying this all year. There is no magic wand. Ian Foster and his selectors can't suddenly make half a dozen world-beating best in the world players appear out of nowhere. This is who we have. This is the cattle that is available. It's the first All Black side of the World Cup year. And I want to be convinced that these guys are the guys that are going to win us a World Cup. But to be honest, there is still quite a lot of doubt there.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
As I said, I don't want to be underwhelmed by this, but you kind of get the feeling that this is the All Blacks, but it's not the A team. That we are holding something in reserve, or we've got players that aren't playing this weekend that will definitely come back and play against South Africa. Was on the Zoom presser with Ian Foster this morning, early morning, live from Argentina. I got to ask a couple of questions. We'll roll those, and then we're going to come back and play you some of the other audio from that presser and discuss around it. Hello, Ian. I just got a couple of questions. Congratulations first up for everyone that's been selected. It's always exciting, isn't it, when you name your first team of the year. Do you consider this your best 15 or the best available 15 that you've got considering the injuries and everything?
Yeah, that's always a big question. I think it's the best 15 for this week. Let's put it that way. And probably won't like that answer, but I think we've picked a really strong team with existing combinations, a lot of experience. But we've also used them as a chance to inject a couple of younger players in and around a solid foundation to just give them the best chance to succeed. So, I think for us, for this test, we're really satisfied with the group we've got.
It's one of those media kind of questions that we're all going to ask you. Would you be starting this same 15 if it was against South Africa next weekend?
I don't have to answer that though, Marty, do I? So it's the only way I'm going to answer that is we're not playing South Africa, we're playing Argentina, and We've stated that this rugby championship, every test match is critical for us. We feel that we want to put ourselves under pressure in terms of how we grow through this campaign, and we don't want to go in there half-hearted. So, I think we've picked a team that reflects that, and that shows that we want to put a good marker down early, and we know we're going to have to play at our best to perform well in the environment over here. So it's a serious challenge.
Devlin.
Words matter.
I was excuse me.
The platform.
Okay, Lock, so you hear from Foz there, and you were obviously on the presser too, listening. I don't know what else he can say. I think the questions are valid, and I think his answers also explain as best as can be. You look at that side and you know that this is a side selected only for this particular test, right?
Yeah, and I like the fact that I'm like you where I'm underwhelmed, but there's a few things about it that I quite like. I like that Josh Lord's getting a go because we haven't seen enough of him in an All Blacks jumper, and the selectors clearly like him. A similar thing with Dane Coles where he's well past his best, but there's still value in having him from an intangible perspective. So I wonder if this is looking at him if he can still do it on the field playing wise, if he still has it in him.
I think he's absolutely playing for his place in the World Cup squad. And I'm not going to say that about all the players, but definitely he is.
But the funny thing is you look at the team and you're underwhelmed, but then you make a list of all the players who can't play based on an injury or whatever else. In Sam Whitelock's case, I think it's more rest. I think Brodie's getting a rest. I don't think that's totally because Josh Lord's in better form and whatnot. But like Lester Whanganuku's injured. Will Jordan's injured. Richie Mo'unga obviously I think being rested for the South African game. We're thin at halfback at the moment. Ethan Blackadder's injured. There's Anton Leonard-Brown. He's still an option in midfield. And I'm probably leaving someone out. But there's a number of key players who simply just can't be selected. So then you're left with a team where you're like, okay, yeah, sure, it's not the most exciting team, but there's value in testing out some players who you'd like to think are going to be valuable at the World Cup, and this is how we're going to see what they can bring to the table.
So some of the other questions that were asked at the press conference for Foz. This one, do you have a plan for all these tests and the team that are going to play? Was it always planned not to play Retallick?
With Brodie, it was like just assessing where he was at. Look, he's fit and ready to go, and his conversation with me went along as well. I respect you, Foz. Anything I can do to change your mind, So the desire's there, but we just feel for now it's a great chance to give Josh an opportunity. He's had a couple of little comebacks during Super Rugby, but he had the last 2 weeks, had them off, because he made us run a little bit late into that final play. But I think it's really important for him to get some time, and we've got a lot of faith in him, and I'm sure he's excited about this game.
And yeah, I think he answers that question as only he can answer that question. Obviously, Retallick is going to play against South Africa. You look at some of these positions, though, mate, and especially when it comes to the locks. Look, we've got two world-class locks who have been the best in the world, who have won World Cups, who aren't at that level that they were in 2015, because this is 8 years later.
Yeah.
But the reality is, outside of those two guys, the next cabs off the rank aren't anywhere near the quality that they have been in their past lives as All Blacks.
No.
And so whoever we pick, if it isn't those two, and let's hope that they're fit and fresh, but they've got to be kept in cotton wool to play at the World Cup. Because I just don't like the idea of going into a World Cup against the giants that we're going to come up against in the line-out, and we don't have those two guys there.
Yeah, not only are they both very long in the tooth in terms of their rugby careers, they've also had injury troubles. I swear, since Brodie Retallick, I think he had a sabbatical in Japan, didn't he, after the last World Cup? Yeah. Since then, it feels like he's injured all the time. He's made of glass. And Sam Whitelock has got an Achilles issue right now.
You're talking about 110, 20, 30 tests plus all the other rugby they played. This is natural attrition, mate. This is what happens.
So that's where seeing someone like Josh Lord and seeing if he's up to it, I've barely watched this guy, so I really don't know. And he had a knee injury for the last year. He's only recently come back from that, I'm pretty sure. Then I look at someone like Tupu Vai, who, again, he's not bad. He's just he's a bit meh.
Well, he's just never imposed himself.
He hasn't. But he's been coming off the bench for about 3 years now.
It's like forever, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm sort of waiting to see if he, has some sort of game-breaking type performance.
This position here in that second row of the locks is a real worry for me. The rationale behind playing Damian McKenzie at 10.
Yeah, look, he's just playing really well. And he's been out of the All Blacks for a year. And so impressed with the way he's come back. And I think that, the best way for us to, get him back feeling like he can contribute and part of his team and to give him his best chance to show how he can play for us was to give him that opportunity when he's feeling confident, when things are going well for him. We've clearly got, Beauden at fullback, Richie at 10, so, a bit of a luxury there at the moment, but it's really just it's just a nice vote of confidence in Damian. And, when you have it All Blacks for a while, there's always a bit of nerves, and I think this is a great way for him to come in and hopefully play from a position of strength.
Now, I don't think we're ever going to get from Ian Foster exactly what he thinks about this. Clearly, Mo'unga's number one, and now I don't think there's any debate about that in the selectors' minds. I'm talking about, right? He's definitely number one. Yeah. So whenever we play a test match, we're going to have somebody to cover 10. Now, fortunately, we've got two guys, Beauden Barrett and Damian McKenzie, who can both play 10 and 15, which is a luxury. So that guy is going to cover both of those positions. And I think at the moment, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You've got Damian McKenzie, who is untried and untested consistently at that level in that position. And you've got a guy who used to be really good in that position, who hasn't displayed any of that form for God knows how long now.
Like 4 or 5 years.
So, again, what is Ian Foster and the selectors meant to do? This is who they've got. Lachlan, they can't just turn around and go, oh, there he is. There's the first spot. Sorry, guys, hang on. Yeah, I got Johnny Wilkinson hiding behind here.
Let me just go back in the time machine to 1987. Oh, Grant. Oh, there you are.
There you are.
Well, I think there's more of a race for the 10 jumper than you're letting on, because I think Damian McKenzie, up until the final, was the form 10 in Super Rugby. At the same time, he's played first 5 in the... I remember in 2018 we had that 3-test series against France, and that was the moment where he was being trialled as the backup 10, and I think 2018 was when Mo'unga made his debut, and that was Damian McKenzie's chance. He started one of the tests against France at 10, and he was fine. He wasn't spectacular, but he's been quite good this year, and I think, again, this, similarly to Josh Lord at lock, I'm sort of banging that drum a bit here, but it's a chance to see, are you up to standard in this position?
Yeah.
And if he has a blinder of a test, well, then you've got an issue on your hands if you're Ian Foster. People going about it's a good headache, or it's a good problem to have when you've got so many players and you're having to fit them into like a starting 15. I don't think it's a good thing at all. I think it would be great for Fossey and his selectors if McKenzie, if he essentially shits the bed and doesn't have a good game.
We've got to
with all
find
due
out.
respect.
We've got to find out.
Then Mo'unga's your 10. I think this race between the two is a lot closer. But I don't think, you mentioned before, Beauden Barrett's the third in the depth, named the depth chart in terms of the first 5s right now. And if Damian McKenzie or Beauden Barrett, if one of them ends up being our starting 15 at the World Cup, we're not going far.
No, I want Will Jordan to start the World Cup like we all do. Foz, again, are you keeping key players fresh on purpose for the South Africa test in a week's time?
Well, that's next week's topic. So, we're just worried about picking the test for this thing for this week. This is a big test for us, and we're not thinking too far beyond it right now. It's, we haven't had our first test of a year away from home. I don't think we've ever had it in my time, and so it's been a real challenge for us, and particularly coming to Mendoza against a really confident Argentinian team. So this is a massive challenge for us, and one that we're going to have to put everything into it, and then we'll worry about next week.
Again, that answer is the only answer that he will deliver.
He's always going to deflect that.
Yeah, and he has to, because you can't undermine your own selections, and you can't undermine these players by saying, hey, well, if it was South Africa, I would be picking blah, da, and da. The reality is we get 33 to go to a World Cup. There are injuries. There are players who are unavailable. And what is the word in United States sport? Next guy up.
Yeah.
Next guy up. That's what this is. Forget individuals. You've got 33 black jerseys in front of you, and it's just a jigs. That one, this one, this one. You've got to play, and you've got to be up to standard, because, again, people, I'll keep banging it. Saturday, quarter, semi-final. 15 days. We've already shown throughout all of last year, and perhaps even the year before, but certainly on the end of year 2, that we can't play the same 15 guys week to week. They just either they're not capable of doing it, or the selectors don't have the confidence in them to be able to front up and play. But 3 matches in a row. So it's not just the quarterfinal. If you then make the final, that's got to be your goddamn best side. You're playing for a world championship.
Yeah.
So all of these guys, I think that we all know that if this was South Africa, it'd be a different team. But the fact of the matter is, you guys have got to step up because this is all we've got.
Yeah.
And if you're not good enough, well, you're going to get found out.
So, he's got a tight window to work with here.
Well, he's got no window.
Foster. So
he's got zero
essentially,
window.
you've got South Africa, Australia twice, and South Africa again. So do you then get to the first Wallabies test and say, okay, I have to have my best 15 and play them for the next 3 tests? Is that it?
At some stage, and look, I only go by what people like Justin Marshall and Murray Meek said these guys say to us because they've been there and done it and won it. And you sit there and you just think, okay, you guys constantly talk about combinations. Look, think of all the other sports that you love. Who does Mahomes have? His favourite target.
Yeah.
He doesn't, who do you want when you're pitching for a World Series? You want your horse, right? It's the same as the NBA. Who are your top 5 players out on court for game 1 of the World Championship? Those guys. You can't fanny around with this, can you?
Yeah.
And so,
you always work down to your 7-8 man rotation for the playoffs in the NBA. Yeah.
Final question then for Foz, and again, look, I just want to reiterate the point. Of course, I'm excited about it. I love the first All Black side of the year being named, and I love seeing a brand new name like Narawa. And how exciting for this guy.
Look, he trained well. I was so impressed with him. The week we had in Auckland, I thought he just looked calm, relaxed. Underneath he's nervous, and he's like everyone who comes in early on. But look, it's a great occasion for him. He should be proud of what he's done this year, and he deserves it. And we just want him to get out there and enjoy himself. It's never going to be perfect in the first test of the year, but he's got some confidence at the moment.
Forget all the debate we're going to have and the hand wringing and everything about who should be playing. I just want to finish on the fact that this is delightful. I love it when somebody makes a debut. You imagine what that guy's going through right now. How goddamn nervous. The adrenaline, I suppose the fear, the excitement. You've been named. And because you've been named, if you start and you play your nuts off, you've got to make it as difficult as possible for the selectors to say, hey, you can't play the next game.
Well, this is
I demand to play the next game.
Wing's a funny position because in the last World Cup, a year prior, so in 2018, one of our wings was definitely Rico Ioane. I can't remember who was on the right wing. Was it Israel Dag? He played a lot of wing around then, or maybe Waisaki Naholo.
Yeah, it might have been him.
But then in 2019, our starters were George Brett and Sevu Reece, who both debuted within the prior 12 months. In 2015, we had a bloke on the right wing called Nehi Milner-Skudder, who no one had even heard of.
He scored the first try in the final.
Yeah, and no one had heard of 9 months prior. He was playing league a couple of years earlier.
Yeah.
So it's that position where you can easily probably take someone out and put a debutant in, and you're still going to get a lot out of them. So I think Narawa actually has a real, likely or feasible entry point into the starting side in important All Blacks games at the World Cup.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the All Blacks, and we play Argentina 7 a.m. Sunday morning. Again, you are listening to a brand new Friday feature where we're now going to go back and we're going to highlight for you some of the interviews, guests, commentary, opinions, debate that we have had over the last 4 days.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.